This just might be one of the most beautiful books available on the market today, but that said, it's not perfect. So if you're looking to build a collection of classic novels before AI companies destroy them all, this video is going to help you decide if Chiltern is worth the investment. I'm Gabriel St. Charles and I review premium products across 5 different categories: aesthetics, longevity, practicality, it factor, and value. So be sure to stick around to the end for the final verdict. As a side note, I'm not paid by Chiltern, this is just an honest review by a fellow curator. This is of course a beautiful book and I can't wait to show you what's inside, but first, let's start with the overall aesthetic. First of all, it's a hardcover, which is always appreciated, but not just any hardcover. Chiltern's book covers have a signature embossed design that is customized to every title. The motif on this one very suitably calls to mind the imagery of fangs and crimson red blood, which, spoiler alert, happens to be a major part of the plot of this particular story. The foil finish gives the red and gold accents a metallic shine, which is definitely going to make it a lot more eye-catching than the average book, to say the least. And as though that wasn't enough, the pages are also gilded with gold. Everything about the exterior of this book just makes you want to open it. So let's open it. The first thing you'll notice is that these pages are glossy, and while they give it a slightly more premium feel, it does come with some downsides, which I will talk a bit more about when we get to the practicality segment. The pages are very thick, so you're not going to feel like you'll tear it by accident if you're not careful. The font size is perfect, the print is crystal clear, and I am definitely a fan of these creamy off-white pages. The printing on every page is perfectly aligned, perfectly spaced, and it is so perfect that you almost feel like you're reading a Kindle. So purely from an aesthetics point of view, it is a thumbs up all the way. Now let's talk about the quality, because when you're paying this much for a book this beautiful, you're going to want to make sure that it stays beautiful. The hardcover does mean that it is extremely durable, so you won't have to worry about the pages getting dog ears if you throw it in your backpack. Mine does have a few scuffs on the pages, but that's just from me throwing it into my suitcase with a bunch of other stuff like camera equipment, and I don't quite expect that most people will be doing that sort of thing. As I said earlier, the pages are very thick, so unless you're giving this to a child or someone very uncivilized, these aren't going to tear, but that does introduce another issue that I'll talk about in the next segment. But as far as quality goes, this book is definitely very well made, and I expect that it will last a very long time, long enough to be able to pass down to my children, and so for that I give it a very solid thumbs up. Now let's talk about practicality, because this is where the thick pages actually become a bit of an issue. This book is very heavy, and as someone who travels a lot, despite it being very durable, it does add quite a bit of weight. And if you're the sort who likes to lounge about with the book in your hand like this, you might find your hands getting a bit tired. For comparison, this copy of Augustine's Confessions is only 470 grams compared to the 730 grams of this book, which is more than 1.5 times heavier. Now this isn't necessarily a bad thing. I do enjoy the robust feel of this book, but it is definitely something to think about. That said, Chiltern books are stitched with string rather than glue, which means that you can fully open them very easily without feeling like you're forcing the spine open. So if you are someone who enjoys reading books on a table, then the weight might not be an issue. Now let's talk about the other issue that Chiltern books have, and that's glare. Because the pages have a more glossy finish compared to traditional paper, I've sometimes found myself slightly annoyed by how it reflects light off the pages. Now while this is only a slight inconvenience, it does make me wonder if I would rather just have traditional paper pages. For me personally, I do quite enjoy the glossy pages because they do provide a certain amount of grip when flipping the pages, and I do sometimes get irritated by this feeling of my dry fingers trying to flip to the next page, but that might just be me. Now that said, the sticky pages do raise another concern for me, which I will talk about at the end of this video. But overall, given these slight issues in practicality in this regard, I give it a slightly less enthusiastic thumbs up. Now let's talk about the it factor. The it factor is that sense of je ne sais quoi that makes an item truly special, that makes you just want to show it off to all of your friends. I actually found out about Chiltern when I was at a friend's place and I saw this Chiltern edition of 1984 by George Orwell sitting on his bookshelf, and the moment I held it, I knew that I wanted one for myself. And so the very next day I went to the shops, got one for myself. There is something about the way these books are made that just make you actually really want to read the story inside, which is how any book should make you feel, but perhaps it is how tactile it is when you pick it up, and just how the motifs on the cover just hint ever so slightly at the story inside. It almost makes you feel like a child picking up a storybook for the first time, and perhaps that is how I would describe it. It is like a storybook for adults. Not that kind of adult storybook though. This is definitely a book that I show to all of my friends, and it is the sort of thing that you have in your home, and it's going to make anyone with taste want one for themselves. So in terms of the it factor, it is a thumbs up all the way. Now for the final and perhaps most important question, is it worth it? They are priced at quite the premium compared to other hardcovers, I believe about $30 depending on where you're getting it. But would I buy it again? Most definitely. I happen to believe that every household should have a collection of the classics, and if you manage to amass a collection of the Chiltern classics, with how eye-catching these are, it's going to be hard for them to fade into the background of daily life, and you're likely to find yourself drawn to them time and again, and that is exactly the effect that I believe a good collection of beautifully made books should have on you and your family. Now I'm currently on the road way too much to amass a collection of books, but when I'm able to, I am certainly going to look at building a collection of Chilterns, with one caveat. One concern I do have regarding these books is how the pages can sometimes stick together. Now, this is by no means a problem to me because I do quite enjoy the satisfaction of unsticking those pages. However, I am concerned that if these books were to sit on a shelf for too long, and if the pages got stuck, they might end up tearing each other when trying to flip the page. So if anyone at Chiltern happens to be watching this and could tell me a bit more, that would be very helpful, but otherwise, we're just going to have to wait and see. Or if you've got Chiltern yourself, let me know your thoughts, or if you have any other recommendations, share them in the comments. I do think that these books are a classic example of how new things can still be made beautifully. When so often today things are just made with this overly minimalistic aesthetic, you can truly tell that time and care has gone into the design and production of these books. And of course, while nothing can beat the smell of old vintage books, if you're going to get something new, I would highly consider a Chiltern. If you enjoyed this review and like me have an appreciation for premium, well-made products, be sure to like and subscribe. I'll be making many more of these reviews on beautiful items built to last, so stay tuned.